is NASA's Perseverance mission really an example of human ingenuity? Is it really an example of just how far we've come and what we hope to find in the universe? Or is it, like many believe, just one big fake? Just another NASA lie in a long, long series of NASA lies?
I could understand the political reason for faking the moon landings. I'm not sure I believe the moon landings were faked or not, but I understand the political motivation.
Yeah.
They thought Russia might beat them.
Yeah, Cold
basically.
War, and JFK making that promise.
Yeah, exactly.
To get there by the end of the decade. There was a lot of political pressure to get there.
I can logically see the reasoning. That's my point. I don't see the reasoning for faking the Mars missions. I don't see the political, reasoning, taking the risk of getting caught. I just don't see it. So our lovely subscriber came back and he basically said, what you're missing though is that actually NASA is just a front. It's completely fake, and one of the main reasons for that is it's a money laundering organization. One of the things they are doing is it's just explaining where billions of dollars are going into the secret space program. You can spend a few million to fake a Mars mission. Say it costs $3 billion, and then that's money that you can then funnel into these other operations. And I kind of see that, and that started me on the big question. Really, is NASA just a money laundering organization?
No, I do think there's definitely some merit to that statement. It could possibly be if these secretive technologies that surpass the burning of fossil fuels exist. Then using the redundant older tech as a front and to drip feed bits of information from the real space program and where that's gone in the last 50 years.
Yes. Because I did think about that it's not just it explains where maybe billions of dollars have gone, but then it also explains where some of the knowledge comes from. So if we learn something about the Mars through having a base there and like an astronaut digging a hole in the ground and go, oh, look what I found. It actually lets us explain where this science comes from. Or if we learn something about a new comet, say, or something like that, because we actually fly a ship there and do tests. Instead, we say, well, we sent a probe there. We sent a probe there for so many billions of dollars. We've got the billions of dollars and we've got the knowledge, and NASA basically allows us to explain both.
Yeah,
I think that's a bit thin, though.
I do think that's a bit thin. They could build the probe in the secret base on Mars. But saying that, haven't they done some footage of the rovers in the descent at all at any point?
Yeah, they have, but I mean that could easily just as easily be on Earth. I mean, you look at a lot of the images. If you turn off the pink and you change a thing, it just looks like Arizona. It doesn't look like anything that isn't. I make the point in the last video in that if you were somebody from Nevada and you were walking on Mars, you might feel quite at home. I mean, you'd be dead because there's no oxygen. But if you were in a spacesuit and wandering around, you might think this is very. It's homely. It's like Nevada.
Yeah, it's really the red colour, isn't it, that they use to make you feel like it's a picture from Mars. However, we know today with Photoshop and all of the digital software that can be used to manipulate photographs, that's very easy to do, to change the colour.
And NASA have admitted they do that sometimes as well. NASA have admitted they've turned up the red a bit because they were that's what people want to see. That's what people expected to see. So they have manipulated images and video before. They use a lot of artistic impressions for things, which really winds me up. They shouldn't be allowed to do that, but they've admitted they do that. So, right, well, we go back to the point then that basically since the V2 rocket, we haven't created any new technology. We've just refined and made more powerful something that we've had for 70 years.
Well, I was going to say, you think about the Wright brothers, first flight in the early 1900s to rockets landing on the moon in the 1969. In that same time period, look at the progression there. Progression with technology supposedly, on an exponential curve, so it should get greater as the time increases, and we haven't developed a new propulsion system that's negated the need for the burning of fossil fuels and the extreme mass of fossil fuels that we need to take into space in order to reach escape velocity. It just surprises me that we haven't developed a better propulsion system by now.
I've always wondered about that. Yeah, and like officially, yeah, exactly. That's the point. But if you think about Stephen Greer, Gary McKinnon, other people like this that have basically said they have evidence that we have anti-grav technology, and that we have potentially have this secret space program. Why are the Americans in that case hiding it? Why the pretense? Why not just admit it?
Well, it's all to do with the oil industry, really, the petrodollar and the control that some of these men of the top big four oil companies have over the world with their billion-dollar energy industry.
So I think because of that, we've basically got a cap on technology. They say, well, this is the cap. We cannot admit anything above this cap right now because it'll ruin. And then we've just done another video, which I'll release next week, about the petrodollar, and like you're saying, but it's not just about money; it's about power and influence as well. And if they let go of the petrodollar, they let go of the influence. So they're not going to do that. So they basically say that's the level. Anything above that you can use, but you use it in secret.
And it's not like history isn't littered with secrets being kept from the poorer classes. It's always the elites that have the latest information.
The Vatican vault is full of books about stuff we're not supposed to know.
Yes.
So I mean, one of our amazing subscribers as well actually sent me an image, and it's from the rover again, and it's quite clearly it's a picture of it. You can see a footprint in the sand. Where is it now? And she sent it to me initially, and I couldn't see what she was getting on about, and I sort of like, okay. But then once you see it, it's all you can see. It's like when something catches your eye, and it's like, oh god, that is just a footprint, and it's literally all you can see on the image. Then it's quite hard to see.
When you manage to do one of those patterns where you have to lose your focus to see the image, and you finally get it.
It's that sort of thing. Then once you see it, that's all you can see. It's that kind of thing. If these Mars missions are being faked, it might explain a lot of the very strange images we do sometimes see. There's the one Mars thing. It seems to very clearly have a numbered rock. There's a similar one on the moon, but there's a rock with like 269 or something written on it. And it seems quite clear. It's upside down and a bit distorted, but it seems quite clear.
There's some interesting ones that go around. I think there's been ones where there's supposedly a bit of petrified wood. There's one where there looks like it's like a skull of like a cattle or something like that, as opposed to a rock. And if they were filming some of this on the Earth, then I could understand that perhaps they might have not noticed some of these objects.
You'd come across the odd thing every so often
that they were filming in.
Yeah, the odd skeleton and things. The one is there's a guy who does a YouTube channel. He calls himself a UFO expert. He's released a video today that it's a baby duck on Mars, and he got a bit of notoriety a couple of years ago, and he's in the Daily Mail a lot. He writes the Daily Mail a lot.
Right, okay.
And it's a monkey on Mars. It's just a rock, and it looks a bit like a monkey. And I'm just like, yeah, that's fine, but use your logic for a second. Do you really think there's a baby duck on Mars? So what is he really saying? That it's a baby duck on Mars, or look, this is proof that it's not Mars? Because I'm still not sure whether there's a baby duck wandering around the middle of Nevada or the Alaskan island it's on or whatever. But or sometimes a rock is just a rock. They look weird. Sometimes rocks look strange.
And we do look for patterns in things, and we are programmed mentally to do that. So I do think we probably see patterns in things sometimes.
I see patterns in
with what's the word, confirmation bias, where you're looking for something, so you're more likely to see what you're looking for to confirm your already predisposed ideas. And I think everybody's probably guilty of that. Even scientists, when they're doing their hypotheses and then trying to prove those hypotheses through experimentation, are still guilty to some extent of confirmational bias of their own theory, aren't they? To some extent.
I see patterns in like my curtains or my carpet threads sometimes. You're just sort of looking at your carpet and it's just random. But if stuff you just sort of catch the way the shape is, it looks like a face. And then again, that's all I can see. I'm just staring at this face. That's weird. It's just random shapes, but our brains are designed to look for those random shapes and categorize them. So sometimes we see stuff that isn't really there. But then again, we see things like the face on Mars and the pyramids that are near it as well, in the Cydonia region.
And the interesting geometry in that region, when you look at all of the landmarks in that region and how they, denote similar things like the ancient structures that exist on our world, like the pyramids, where you've got a high level of mathematical understanding and engineering in that monument, and then you see those same principles being applied to monuments.
The five-sided pyramid is, the five-sided pyramid is very interesting. That it basically lines perfectly up with the face of Mars, and then it lines up perfectly with these two other structures to a different side. Things like that in the Cydonia region are very strange. And these things would, if there was a civilization on Mars millions of years ago, these things would potentially still be there. To get back to the faked Mars mission then, right? I think there might be a bit more to it than just saying that maybe the petrodollar and there's that ceiling. I do wonder whether we maybe have built a secret space program. Maybe we've built ships, but maybe that is taken from alien technology. And maybe we can't actually reproduce all of it. And maybe that's why it has to be secret.
Well, yeah, there's like we said before, there's the government, isn't there, and the not being able to protect us, and also having then to admit to reverse engineering technology and keeping us in the dark for 60, 70 years. There's a lot of reasons that it's a snowball effect. If they come clean on one thing, they're going to come clean on a lot of things that have been built on that original lie from America from the late 40s and the
House of Cards collapsed, doesn't it? But I was wondering, say if Bob Lazar's right, and Element 115 is a thing, maybe Elephant 115. I said Elephant 115. Then
you did.
I'm not editing it out. I'll keep it in. Maybe Element 115 is the power source, is the core. Maybe we can replicate the engines. Maybe we can replicate a lot of the technology, but we can't replicate 115. And we've only got as much as we've been able to get from any UFO that has crashed, which won't be many, So maybe we can only build as many spaceships as we can get 115, So then again, we can never admit it because we'd have to admit that aliens exist. So we can't say, look what we've invented. Aren't humans awesome? If then somebody goes, well, how does that bit work? And we go, we don't know. Or can I build one? No, because we can't replicate 115. So where did you get it from then?
Like the story about the guy that built the water-powered car back in the I think the late 80s in America, that mysteriously died after meeting two black suits in a restaurant about his water-powered car, which we suspect might have been you thought was a hydrogen fuel cell, but either way, it was basically a clean engine that was giving off water as the output, which is the reason for suspecting it was a hydrogen fuel cell. And then he mysteriously dies and his invention disappears. So when people do put a step in the wrong direction with technology, they and they don't go along with the powers that be, they tend to
disappear. Or they tend to get bought off and disappear into the black project themselves.
Yes, that's what happens to a lot of scientists that have gone into anti-gravity research. The effects of rotating superconductors and the anti-gravitational force that's created. There's a lot of scientists that have done experimentation and proven that the hypothesis works, and then poof, they disappear out of academia and they've gone and ended up working for some private company somewhere,
earning a lot of money.
Yes.
So what do you think then? Do you think the Mars missions are genuine? Is this one small step towards us building a colony and having 1 million people on there with Elon Musk's plans? Or do you think it's faked?
Well, just look at what Elon Musk has achieved with SpaceX. So in the last 70 years, NASA's been using the same rocket technology but not been able to build a reusable rocket. Elon Musk's come along, invested some money into his own private space company and surpassed what NASA's been able to achieve relatively quickly with a lot less funding.
A fraction of the money. You know.
So there's something that's definitely going on that that isn't the truth. As to whether they're doing these missions with these rovers to Mars for real or not, it'd be a lot easier if there is a secret base on Mars to build the rover on the base on Mars and fake the whole rocket launch and the whole escaping Earth's gravity and getting it there. You could just build it there, and then you can then slowly start sending some pictures and video and drip feeding some information back much cheaper.
That's a point, actually. So I didn't twig that a second ago. If we've got a secret space program, it wouldn't make any sense that the Mars Perseverance is actually wandering around Alaska. If it's not really there and it is just a front, I mean, flat earthers believe it's fake because we can't get off the Earth. But but if we've got a secret space program, the Perseverance would really be there. But they wouldn't have gone through the expense of launching it. They literally would have just driven out of the back door of one of their bases and gone, there you go, crack on. But so if it is faked, that basically means the secret space program is also not real. And if NASA is just a money laundering to put it into other black operations, which is potentially possible, it's going to be
they've got
terrestrial reasons.
They've got other ways to do that, though. I think a lot of the CIA slush funds and the black budget stuff through the CIA and and all of the defence contractors in the military-industrial complex and the missing holes in the Pentagon's budget, it's probably all very heavily linked. Yes.
Yes, but that's like we said in the 9/11 video, that the defence budget, the DoD, I should say, didn't even bother trying to pretend to be a slush fund or a money laundering organisation. They just didn't bother writing it down. So where's that $1 trillion gone? We don't know. But as well, were you checking what you were spending it on? No. We didn't bother writing it down. And that is genuinely, I'm not even taking the mick, that's genuinely what they admitted. Their accounting people basically just said we weren't recording it. So yeah, you're right. There's lots of other ways the Americans are very used to losing money.
So I just don't know if they'd need to do it through NASA, and because NASA's a public body, it's probably more risky doing it through NASA than it is doing it through other parts of the government that aren't their front for space travel. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it. They might do a little bit of it, but I don't know. They probably do some, but I just don't know if it might not be the main focus of it.
Yeah. Well, can we say that? Is it even possible? All right. So let's go with that.
Yes.
Because I think it probably is. I think NASA's massively compartmentalized. We've argued this with the moon mission. If that was faked, it would be easy to do. It would be relatively easy to do. So you send a rocket up, goes around the Earth a bit, and comes back down when you're ready. Yeah. In the meantime, you bounce a radio signal off the moon and you beam it back into the control center, and the people in the control center would potentially believe it's true. You just give them all the telemetry. You run a computer program and give them the right numbers, and they believe it. They're reading what's on a screen at the end of the day. The same could be done by the Mars mission. There might be nothing on Perseverance. We might just be bouncing a radio signal off something. So if we go look at, is it possible? Yeah. Is it likely? I don't think so. I don't see the point. I don't see the reason.
It's probably cheaper to do the missions on Earth in remote places like Alaska or out in the Nevada desert. I guess
it doesn't really make sense because the NASA's budget is fractional compared to the DoD's budget. The DoD lose billions of dollars every year that they just don't tell you about. They don't need to. They've got the money. It would be a drop in the pond. It doesn't make sense to me.
No, I kind of like with what we know about them supposedly airbrushing out pictures of the images that Gary McKinnon found those 2 folders raw and processed inside subfolders inside an images folder when he hacked into NASA, and I think Carol Rosen corroborated it, and it's other people that have worked at NASA saying they were airbrushing out pictures to hide UFOs and artifacts from other alien cultures. They're kind of functioning just more as a sort of public relations agency, so they just filter the stuff into the public. I kind of think there's a little bit of that. They're kind of just the filter that's applied.
But I say the other possibility is the secret space program is actually small and so secret Nobody else knows about it. So we've got so it's
Oh.
almost like two shoots of technology. So
Yeah,
literally,
no,
NASA
I
is
think
genuine. NASA's building rockets and doing everything it knows, everything it thinks it can do, because it has no clue this technology is available. There's no clue this technology is possible. It is completely separate. And there's
I
maybe
think
only a
there's-
few people in the American government know the truth.
Yeah, and that's why none of the NASA scientists think that they're on a, what's the word, a stupid cause, a pointless cause, because they're unaware of the technology that surpasses it existing.
Yeah, and that's the point.
Yeah, so I think that's probably the most likely scenario.
And that goes back to me being if it's reversed engineered alien technology that they're using, but they've only got a limited amount of it or a limited ability to reproduce it. That's why it's completely kept secret.
Also,
because it is completely separate. Well, we also know that the very powerful tend to, try to keep hold of power, and this gives them. It's the ultimate kill switch. And we also talk about things like Operation Bluebeam, when they're on about maybe potentially, like Reagan said to the UN, and I say Carol Rosen talked about this threat from an alien species. Potentially, that's what's being prepared. So again, it has to be kept completely separate from NASA, from everybody else, because they're going to fake this alien invasion.
Which is why I also think that other governments around the world are fully aware of the cover-up that's been going on, and the governments in other countries are just basically told by America to toe the line and obviously keep it secret from their populations as well. I think there's a level of secrecy at top level of government on these things. There's been people like ex-NATO officers that have spoken out that have had what they call a cosmic clearance level within NATO, which means they're allowed into this kind of information. I forget the name of the exact whistleblower that I listened to, but that's a very interesting listen. Basically, just agreeing with just basically saying what I've just said, that there is a sort of a top secret level of government information at the cosmic level, which is all UFOs, and America's even goes as far as recovering crashed vehicles from all of South America. This is why they've got another reason for having all the military bases as well, all over the world, is that they're quite often America is involved in the retrieval programs in other countries as well as its own country. Perhaps not in Russia or China. But then Russia's a big enough landmass, and China is as well, that they've had their own incidents.
Yeah, and like I say, the military influence of America worldwide should scare everybody. There isn't an inch of land on Earth that America couldn't bomb if it wanted to.
Well, they've got over 1,000 military bases, but there's only about 200 countries, so they've got 5 military bases for every country.
There you go. And again, if the secret space program is existing, it is the ultimate hammer, isn't it, as well? And the Americans would potentially use that and say, you will toe the line, and this is what's going to happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. And potentially even China, Russia, they might be desperately trying to keep up, but if they are nowhere near it, they would have to, at least small parts of it quietly, have to toe that line as well, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
they have no choice.
To a certain extent, because of the power that America holds globally, or has since World War II, I suppose.
But that's how we need.
It all links, doesn't it? It all links back to the big global events that occurred. World War One, World War Two, the shift of power from Europe to America. See, I don't really think America really ever gained its true independence from Britain. Obviously, they Independence Day but really what's happened is as the UK has relinquished the British Empire, America's just installed military bases in there instead, and we have a special relationship with America that seems to be an ongoing special relationship, seeming like something was agreed many years ago between the two countries about the shift of power that was going to occur.
We've spoke about this before, but I mean, I honestly believe America was bought. I think very wealthy families went over from the UK and Europe, bought America and privatized the world. I think maybe royal families and things had a bit too much power, and the up-and-coming wealth saw an opportunity with America and took it by both hands and bought it. It's not really a country. I think it's a private entity. I think it's a business.
It's almost like it's a corporation.
Yeah, it's one vast corporation. Yeah, and as well. People talk about the Illuminati and the New World Order. I think it's here, and I think it's the American government or an element of the American government.
Yes.
But maybe that's the similar thing, that there's two parts that don't really know about it. You know, there's this head that the body doesn't really know about, and maybe that's the same with the secret space program. There's a head that the body doesn't know about.
Oh, that's a good analogy. Yes.